Hello and welcome to Postdoc Chronicles week number 39. In the background right here, we're seeing the Nintendo Switch game entitled Chicano Soul Eater. So you can also get this on the PS4 and the Xbox. And this game is a very beautiful shoot 'em up. You know, if you're familiar with the arcade games of old where all you do in the game is dodge this very beautiful patterns of bullets. So this is what this game is about, and I got this on sale for about like something like $4. So this is typically priced at like I think $12 or $13. I got it at on sale at $4, and man, it's a very short game. You can like first playthrough I finish it in like around 40 minutes to 1 hour, and then the moment you're good at it you can even finish it like in like 30 minutes. But if you're familiar with shoot 'em up, the point about shoot 'em up is it's not about the length of the game. It's about familiarizing the bullet patterns, familiarizing the enemy formations and the stages, okay, so that your score will be at the top of the leaderboard. So it's basically a high score game. And the nice thing about this game is that the art style is pretty much along the veins of if you're familiar with the game developers Vanillaware, who did games like Odin Sphere, Muramasa Rebirth, Dragon's Crown on the PS Vita. They usually make this game that if you take any screenshot of it, it looks like a very nice painting. So this is not by Vanillaware, but the art style does remind me of them. And yeah, it stars two main characters. So typically, when you have shoot 'em ups, you have like airplanes. But this, it stars two ladies. So it can also be for two players. But you choose one. The girl, the black girl is called the Shinigami. Okay, and her attack is a little bit like spread. And then the girl on the other girl on the red, which is my preference, she's just called the girl. Okay, and her fire style is like a little bit focused. And the unique thing about Shikondo is that there's a meter that you want to fill up, and it fills up the moment the closer you are to the enemy bullets. Okay, so instead of like wanting to dodge the bullet as best as you can, if you're playing it safe, then you do not charge your meter that that does your special, your superpower. So you have to move as closer to the bullet as possible, and then the closer you are without being hit, the faster will your gauge be filled up. So it's really very nice. I think in the leaderboard boards currently, I just made it into like within top 100. But yeah, it's very hard to go inside the higher stages. But yeah, the bullet patterns are really good. The bosses are really very memorable, because it's like two phases. It starts with, usually the boss starts with this very pretty, very beautiful girl, animated girl, and then she will fire some basic bullet patterns. And then the moment you consume, you killed her first bar of her life, she transformed into this very scary demon, which is very, the design is very gory, very memorable. And yeah, after it does this transformation, it spews out this very weird, very difficult bullet patterns. And yeah, it's really very good. And it's also very welcoming to casual players on shoot 'em up, because there are like many stages that you can try. But typically when I play this, I usually go hardcore and then extreme. So when you go extreme, it's really hard, but then the multiplier is also very nice. And hardcore, it's 1 cc, so 1 credit, no continue. So typically that's how you do shoot 'em up. Try to finish it in one run with only one life, no restart. Okay, so it's very good. But the only thing I don't like about it is, usually when you have shoot 'em ups in like classic shoot 'em ups that are being ported on the Switch, for example Ikaruga, originally it is like vertical. You have this option called the Tati mode, where you can you can rotate your Switch so that the Switch will be in like portrait mode, and then you can consume the entire verticality of the Switch. This for some reasons doesn't have that option, but yeah, it's a minor gripe, but it's fine. But anyway, enough of that. Last week also I turned, my birthday was March 8th. I turned 31, and yeah, my girlfriend, really really very sweet of her. She sent me some cakes over here in South Africa, and it's a very huge cake. So I'm still eating it until now, and it's really very, very delicious. So shout outs to my girlfriend. And yes, and also for my birthday, I was supposed to buy Switch video games on the eShop, but actually I haven't bought any yet because I actually waited for March 10, which is the Mario game, expecting Nintendo to be putting more games into the eShop. But unfortunately, they made sales on Mario games only for retail ones, like ones that you can buy physically. And that, like I mentioned before, in South Africa, if you buy physical games, it's more expensive. So usually I buy them on the digital format. Okay, but anyway, going to my postdoc. So what did I do last week? So last week I concentrated again on fitting some curves or different combinations of continuous distributions to our background and our signal. Okay, so far the best thing that I could come up with, the best fit that I found is the superposition of the so-called Breit-Wigner function, or the Cauchy distribution, because usually resonances for the mass has a Cauchy, they are Lorentz or Cauchy distributed. So I picked one. If there's only one, it's not very well fitted, and then I did a superposition of them. The fit is really very good. I also fitted the background. It's really simple to fit a background. At first, I thought it was like an inverse polynomial, but it turns out a better fit is an exponential with a negative power, because if you notice, if you look at the log plots of the background, they are like linear in the log plot, and they're like falling down with a negative slope. So if you think about it, if they have they are negative line in the log plot, so that means if you translate it to the linear x and linear y plot, then it transforms into an inverse polynomial. And I did that. I fitted an inverse polynomial on the background, and it turns out I found the right fit. But the thing is, so the point was we would want to do some statistical analysis on it, so that we will have a numerical comparison how significant our signal is against the background. Okay, and that's so we were supposed to like extract some p-value and so on. But then the moment, so I asked some advice from one of our colleagues. He is also part of the Atlas collaboration. His name is Shi Feng. Deepak told me he's like the master, the expert when it comes to statistics. So I told him, I asked him, how would you go about, like, I showed him our distributions. How would you go about comparing like this background and this signal? And then he said, yeah, that's fine. What you're doing is okay. You're fitting, but in your case right here, we have our signal, where our signal is very much negligible. Sorry, our background is very much negligible compared to our signal. He said we wouldn't even need to do the fitting in the first place, because since the background is very small, we can use a very good approximation using the square root of s, the square root of the integrated area under the curve of the signal. So it's called the S. Okay, so S is you pick a certain mass window, and then you get the number of events under that curve. That's your S. And then typically your B is the area under again a specific window, and then that's your background. And then again, he said, depending on the nature of your data, depending on if the signal is very small or if the background is very small. So typically the approximations that are used are either square root of s only, or square root of s over square root of s plus b, or sometimes if the s over square root of s plus b, and sometimes if the S is really small, then you use S over square root of B, okay? But he said in our case, since the background is really small, then there's really no sense doing the fitting in the first place. So he said just use square root of S. That would give you a good estimate of the significance of our signal. So I'm doing that right now. So now I compare the square root of S from our signal, and then the significance coming from according to Checkmate, coming from the best Atlas analysis on that specific search. And then we compare the significance. So far using that, the significance of our search is very high. So right now what I'm doing is I'm continuing writing the paper, and I'm now in the part where I'm filling in the theoretical part, okay, of stealth supersymmetry. So Jong asked me to look at the very first stealth SUSY paper, and then that was like, I believe 2012 or 2011, and he said, look at all the relevant papers that cited that, and then try to, scan them, look over them, so that we can have an overview of what happened to stealth SUSY from the first time it was introduced until today. Okay, so, but yeah, basically that's what I've been doing last week, and thank you very much for watching. I'm gonna continue playing now before I go back to school, and then continue eating my cake. Okay, so again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next Postdoc Chronicles. That will be number 40. Okay, thank you very much and bye bye.